Ahoy! The Fury of the Spriggan event is on the PTR at the moment, and it is a little bit annoying to do, because you actually need other players to do it with, and that's not an easy thing to achieve on the PTR. I can show you the event a little bit here, you'll see what it looks like and what you need, so you actually require some resources from the new expedition or from the new season pass, for example, as well, in order to even activate the event properly. And then you also need to kill a bunch of mobs, which I was not able to do solo, because as you can see, they are pretty tanky, they're all blocking, so yeah, I just had a little bit of fun with them. However, while I, with my Australian time zone, was not fortunate enough to find a group for this, somebody else has. Baggins has been able to complete this event once and was able to show the rewards that you get afterwards. And the rewards in this case are a Major Spriggan Cache, a Minor Spriggan Cache, and some gypsum, obsidian gypsum. Now, when he looked at the rewards for this, unfortunately the files were not fully updated yet on the PTR, so you couldn't actually see what you can get from the event, and there are actually quite a few decent rewards, so I want to talk about that. Now, on the event itself, on the fight itself, I would say it seems kind of weird that you are required to use resources in order to spawn the event or activate the event fully, or whatever else this is supposed to be, because to me it seems that certain people will have to use their resources while others can just participate in the event for free, and basically everyone will wait around until someone sacrifices their resources, from what it seems like at the moment. So if that's the case, that would be a very weird decision. Other than that, as you guys probably know by now, I'm not the biggest fan of any of this type of world events where you're just killing a world boss that spawns on a random location, then go to the next one and so on. And this seems to be another one of those where you just have to deal a lot of damage to them, so you need a lot of people in order to do this quickly, and then you get your rewards. Now, I will say that it seems to be a bit of a filler piece of content anyways compared to all the other stuff that we get in Season 1, so I'm not too phased. That said, due to the rewards, there are reasons, or at least one big reason, to do this. Let's take a look at the Minor Spriggan spoils first. This is kind of a secondary thing that I guess you will get on every clear, whereas I'm assuming the other one will have a limited drop per day, maybe 1, maybe 3. And as you can see here, there are 73 pages on New World Database for the rewards, a lot of green stuff, a lot of random stuff. And if we go a bit further down, you can see that there are tons and tons and tons and tons of named items of various kinds, along with some other resources that you can get. You can, for example, get some potions, some schematics, and various other crafting materials. So what is important here, what's interesting here, is that these are mainly world drops. These are your typical drops that you can get from any mob in the world randomly with a very low chance, or from, what's his name, Rattlebones. So that's not that special, but what's cool is that along with that, you can also get rewards, which happen to Baggins, from the other Spriggan caches or the other event caches. So Baggins ended up getting Verdant Agony, and Verdant Agony is not a world drop. It doesn't drop from any mobs, but it's contained in the Angry Earth Equipment Cache, the Protectors Equipment Cache, so both of the arena bosses that are Angry Earth, as well as the Minor Spriggan spoils. I don't know if these have a higher chance, if you're more likely to get one of these from the Minor Spriggan spoils compared to just a random name drop, but either way, these at least have a chance to drop here as well. Though if you are farming for a specific one, you're probably much better off doing the arena bosses, since that will typically have a much smaller loot pool, so you have a higher chance of getting it. But then at the same time, with the event, you may just be able to follow others around and get them that way. But more importantly, we have the Major Spriggan spoils. This says here that you can only get it up to 3 times per day. I don't know if you can get all of the rewards from it 3 times per day. If you can, that's a pretty easy farm, I suppose. But either way, there are quite a few different things in there. The first things that we have here are the Vineborn set. These are just armor pieces that drop with guaranteed Angry Earth Ward and a bunch of random perks. If we look at that in more detail, we can see that they have locked full attribute perks, so it's not that they can get any mixed perks, but then in terms of the perk pool, they are still fairly random, and they can especially roll Resilient with a high chance, along with Angry Earth Ward, because those are not exclusive. One is Damage Absorb, and the other one is Crit Death, so you will likely get a lot of pieces with Angry Earth Ward and Resilience, so those are not going to have all too much value overall. There's not just armor, there are also weapons. The weapons all come with Angry Earth Bane, unsurprisingly. Taking a closer look at the sword, for example, here, we can see the perk buckets here. very much what you expect as well. But it's pretty nice. For example, you can easily get a combination of Angry Earthbane and Vicious if that is something you want on your weapon, which is pretty good in PvE for quite a few weapons. Outside of the Vineborn gear, you also get 250 Umbral Shards. Then there are also various craft mods that you can get here. Not necessarily only good ones, just a bunch of different ones that are available through this, but also some that are usually not that easy to get, like for example, low quality tallow, not the easiest farmable one, so not inherently bad, but also not particularly great. A few pages down, we find the legendary gear as well as timeless shards. The other pages are all just timeless shards. So let's have a look at the legendary gear that we can get here. The first weapon here is a Warhammer Mountain Shaker, and they all share the visuals with the Vineborn gear, so I don't know if this gear is used anywhere else, but if you care about the transmog part, you don't necessarily need to get the legendaries, it seems, as long as you get the Vineborn weapon version, same thing. But the perks here are full strength, a leeching ignited runeglass gem, Angry Earthbane, refreshing mighty gavel, and keenly empowered. I don't know of anyone who uses a Warhammer against Angry Earth in the first place, and much less still uses Mighty Gavel at this point, so yeah, not very good. Next we have Burnweaver, a musket. This comes with full dexterity, a sighted ignited runeglass, Angry Earthbane, flame attunement, and Vorpal. Technically not horrible, though I wouldn't really want Vorpal in PvE. But even out of this patch, I don't see many people using musket in PvE particularly much. I know Angry Earthbane specifically is buffed on the musket, for example, on all ranged weapons, elemental weapons, all that stuff. But I don't think that that's going to be a massive change to the musket in terms of usability when it comes to PvE. The Blazing Bushhook is a very interesting looking spear, I actually kind of like it. Comes with full dexterity, also energizing ignited as its runeglass, Angry Earthbane, flame attunement, and bleeding sweep. Honestly, this is not bad. Angry Earthbane and flame attunement are both pretty good for damage output, and while bleeding sweep may not necessarily be the best third DPS perk, it's also not a bad one, so this is a good 2.5 perk, I would say, if you're using spear in PvE. Generally, you'd obviously want something like Vicious or Rogue as an additional perk on top of that, but between Angry Earthbane and flame attunement, you're still getting pretty good damage. The unfortunate thing is that this doesn't have Enfeebling Skewer, which most people most definitely prefer in PvE for a reason. But then again, you can also now get Weaken from Perforate, so maybe that will offset that and you don't need it quite as much. Forest Shadow is a new Void Gauntlet. Forest Shadow comes with full int, augmented ignited, Angry Earthbane, keenly jagged, and refreshing Rupture. This is interesting, honestly. Again, missing something like Vicious or Enchanted, depending on how you want to use it in PvE. I think the refreshing Rupture is kind of cool. I would prefer that on a focus Void Gauntlet for PvE in particular, because I think it's something that's you're better off basically having on a healer than having another Void Gauntlet for the damage aspect of it. But it's definitely not bad either. It's definitely not the worst choice to have if you are looking to deal a little bit more damage as a healer and you want some int in your build, or you're going for a damaging Void Gauntlet. It's at least a good starting point. Trailblazer's leg guards are some full con light pants with ignited nature ward as well as angry earth ward, shirking energy, and invigorated. Not completely awful, but honestly, I don't think these are priority perks in PvE, aside of the angry earth ward obviously. It's not bad, but it's also not particularly good. But that is made up for by Bramble Helm, and I think that is the big reason to this event. Now this light helm comes with full constitution and punishing nature ward runeglass gem, but the perks on here are angry earth ward, arboreal conditioning, and refreshing evasion. That is a very strong combination. And I think this is especially important because the Sandworm is around the corner. And since it is very likely that the Sandworm will be Angry Earth, following basically the whole concept of every other mob that is like that, for example the Scorpions, which have double attributes as well, being Angry Earth and Beast, I would like to think that this piece of gear might be specifically in preparation for the Sandworm. I could imagine that there's definitely some nature damage going around, especially with all the acid and everything that's happening. And Also, refreshing evasion is definitely a good perk to have. It would be a little bit better if it was refreshing, but then it would literally be PvE best in slot for any Angry Earth situation with nature damage, so that's probably something they wanted to avoid. But it's also a very good all-rounder with con, so this is definitely the one that I would want to take away from this event, and that's why I think it's worth doing. And that's at the same time a bit annoying, because that means you might have to gather a lot of flame cores and spend them on this. But there's also something else here, the Spriggan Flame Brazier schematic. And if you look down here, you can see there's nothing yet on how to get this. And I looked around in game if I could find any hints for it, but I wasn't able to. I don't know where this might appear, because there's not really any event NPC tied to this event where you could trade it in, and it's not part of the chest. But it very much seems to be tied to the event, because it literally says, a replica of the flame brazier is constructed to help quell the fury of the Spriggan, which is exactly where you need to put in the flame cores, and it looks pretty cool. So I don't know how you will be able to get this, but it seems like there will be more rewards from the fury of the Spriggan event, unless they scrap this, or this is only from the cache shop. But if it was from the cache shop, then I wouldn't know why it has a schematic. That would be very atypical. Usually if it's a cache shop item, they just give you the item outright. So it seems like there may be more behind the scenes, and maybe we can discover more once the event comes around. In the next days, we definitely have a lot of patch prep to do. We need to talk about the new meta, what to buy and all that. So if you're interested in that, consider subscribing and clicking the bell. Also, if you want to support me further, consider heading over to my Patreon. That way you can also chat with other Patreon supporters on the Patreon Discord. Thanks to all of you who are already supporting me. Thanks for watching. GeekSloth out.